If you want to squat your heaviest working set as optimally and as safely as possible, well, in this video, you are going to see my whole entire process from when I start off with the warm-up mobility flow to the warm-up sets that primes my body for the actual working set. That can help you when you squat your heaviest working set. And why am I sharing this with you? Is because squats is one of the best exercises for strength and lower body development, such as your glutes and your quads. Just a small disclaimer that if you are a complete beginner or you haven't yet built the confidence or strength to do a barbell back squat, then I highly suggest you get started with doing heel elevated goblet squats, where you could have the dumbbell or kettlebell right in front of you or the dumbbells on either side. The intention behind that is to practice good form and technique, especially the squat movement pattern, and the barbell can be quite heavy. Another way to help you improve on your strength is getting started with the fixed machines, such as your hack squats or your leg press machine. If you are a complete beginner, I do have a beginner's guide to get started with weight training in the description below. So make sure you download your free copy. Now back into the video. Starting off with warm-up mobility drill. And even if you are a complete beginner or you have not popped a barbell on your back, or you just because you don't have the confidence yet, this mobility drill that you about to see is something that you could also do to help you with mobility, to help you in order to build the confidence on popping a barbell on your back. So this mobility drill, the first one that I am doing, literally everyone and anyone could do this, because right here we want to be working on putting your ankles and your hips through its full range of motion. It is elevated with the front foot, as you could see, so that I could have the hip extension on my other foot. So this mobility drill works on both sides. So the foot that is highly elevated, we want to work at the ankle joint by pushing your knees past your toes, because when you perform a squat, we want to be able to have good ankle mobility as well as hip in order to have that squat depth when we do the actual squat. Hence, we are doing it on both sides. Now this is my next set where I am popping a loaded plate. In this case, it is a kettlebell on top of my thighs. This is just to really add the resistance to push the knees past the toe. This is especially useful for you if you find that you have some form of ankle joint limitation. Often most cases, when people do a squat and they lean too far forward, this could be a possibility of limitation at the ankle joint. So if you find yourself where you feel that you are perhaps coming forward too much and your back is hurting, potentially this may be a limitation at the ankle joint. So the first two exercises for this mobility flow to really help push the knees past the toe and work on that ankle mobility will help you in reaching a much better squat depth and keeping that upright torso. Here, I am just taking my time and being intentional, because when we do a barbell back squat, we want to take your joints through its full range of motion and priming it in order for you to be ready to do the squat. The next mobility exercise is the glute stretch. When you think of a squat, at the bottom position, your glutes are in its most stretched position. So performing the glute stretch will help open up the hips at the same time and stretch out those glutes that we want to hit optimally at the bottom of the squat, which is when your glutes are in its most stretched position. Either side for about 10 to 15 seconds, leaning forward to feel a greater stretch. Here you see that I am doing it on an elevation. You can most definitely do this on a mat on the floor. The next mobility drill is one of the best exercises that you could do if you want to improve on your squat movement pattern as well as your squat depth. Even if you are not ready to do a barbell back squat yet, even practicing this slow descent down as I am doing to get me into a deep squat position is extremely beneficial to help you get into a deep squat position. From the top to the bottom is about a 10-second descent of the lowering. This descent coming down and then sinking into a deep squat position, as you could see, is where you would be when you are to perform any kind of squat, is to sink into that hole. And at the bottom of this deep squat position, holding onto a kettlebell like so, really pushing those knees out and keeping that tension there. You want to also maintain tension throughout your entire body, keeping that upright torso and core must be engaged. When it comes to your warm-ups, you also need to be intentional and think about the movement pattern prior to doing the actual exercise itself. Again, this is what it looks like on the side, taking a slow descent down. Another great benefit of doing this tempo deep squat is that at any time throughout the 10 or 15 second lowering phase, if you find yourself shifting forward, you could correct yourself by leaning a little bit back into that deep squat position, and as you could see, maintaining that neutral spine throughout the entire warm-up deep squat. All right, now we are at the squat rack. Here I am doing a part of my warm-up set is the zombie squat. Essentially what it is pretty much a front squat, but having your arms out extended like so, like a zombie, hence it calling a zombie squat. The whole idea of doing a zombie squat is two things: to keep an upright torso and keeping that core engaged the entire time. This has a carryover for when I do my barbell back squats. With the front squats or zombie squats, it is not necessary to do them before or as part of your warm-up sets. I am doing them is just another way to warm up. If you do not have a lot of time, then you do not have to do the front squats. But if you do have the time and you want to practice keeping that upright torso and core tension, then doing some front squats can help you prepare for when you do your actual back squats. So again, you don't want to tire yourself out too much, but because I have been implementing these front squats just only a couple of sets when I have my squat days, that has helped me. So if you have the time, do them. If not, then it's totally okay if you skip them out. There's no right or wrong way when it comes to warm up. It really is what works for you. And now we are off to doing our first warm up set. And when it comes to your warm up sets, you need to be intentional. One of the mistakes or common thing that I see people do, which isn't necessarily a mistake, but something that could help optimize their working sets when they get to it, is just being intentional. They will just come into the weights and just aimlessly or just rush through their warm-up sets. But it's just the little things like setting their intention to help you prepare for your working set to squat as optimally and as safely as possible. So when it comes to intention, regardless of what the weight is on the plate, whether that is the barbell itself or super lightweight. You want to treat it as if you are squatting your heaviest weight possible. This is so important, and you want to have this intention every single rep that you do in your squat. You are training your mind to get ready for what is to come. It would make it very challenging for you just to jump straight to your warm working set without having primed your body's nervous system, getting it ready for the actual working set. So here is my second warm-up set at 60 kilos. As you could see, I am taking my time as I'm coming down. I am using my core. I am keeping an upright torso and reaching for that squat depth. Now onto my third working set at 80. I just wanted to share one important point as well, because I have been squatting for a very long time, more than 5 years. I have worked up to a working set at about 100. Generally speaking, the more that you could lift or squat, then generally the longer or more working sets you need. Because if my working set is at 100, then I will do about 3 or 4 warm-up sets, and most cases you only need to do about 2 to 3 warm-up sets if most. Again, at the beginning I did mention it all comes down to trial and error to see what works for you. You do not want to overdo your warm-ups, but at the same time you want to warm up efficiently to be able to do your warm-up sets, your working sets. Now I am popping on some knee sleeves. When I get to my actual working sets or past a particular weight, which is at the 80 mark, I will pop on knee sleeves. The whole purpose of putting a knee sleeve is to increase the heat surrounding the knee joint, so that it acts like shock absorbers and you are able to bounce back up in a squat. So with the knee sleeves, I personally find that it does help me when I squat heavier. Most people don't put on these sleeves, and that is totally fine. It is not a must, but if you are looking at weight training for a long period of time and you want to do squats or any form of squat variation and you have a little bit more experience, then I personally think that knee sleeves are definitely worth investing in. I don't think personally that I would be able to squat as heavy as I would without the knee sleeves. So they just give me a little bit more of a comfort when it comes to getting out of that bottom position in a squat. So here is still my warm-up set at 90 kilograms. And again, with this rep, it really is about being intentional throughout every single rep that I do, because the more that you are intentional with your warm-up sets, it does get easier. I wouldn't say easier, but it is much more optimal when you do your actual warm-up sets, because you've already primed your body to what's to come, and we are gradually increasing the weights. And as I mentioned, it really comes down to trial and error. Here is 100 kgs. This is typically where my sweet spot is at with my working set. So here I will, again, same thing, being intentional and making sure that I am creating that tightness in the upper back and keeping that core tight. With the squats, I would suggest that you dedicate a time to make sure that you have enough time to do all of your warm-up sets, your mobility before your working sets. I wouldn't necessarily rush your squat days, because they are a high complexity exercise that involves a lot of skill to develop. And just to let you know that I have been training and lifting heavy weights, specifically the squats, consistently for the past 5 or so years to get to this stage. And just to let you know that it is so possible for you. It is just a time thing, and I may be a little bit more biased towards squats because I have just been really enjoying getting strong under the bar. This is what it looks like at the front so that you are able to see I am doing my absolute best in keeping that upper back tightness where the barbell sits nice and snug on the upper back, keeping that tightness in the upper back as well as maintaining that upright torso. I'm nodding my head because it felt really good. So this is my second warm-ups working set. Here I was a little bit more ambitious, and generally speaking, I sort of gauge at how I feel. So typically my working set is around the 100 kg mark, but I felt that I was able to push for that extra 10 kilos on top of my working set, and I just went for it. Some days my body doesn't feel that I'm able to cope, and then I pull back. It's really important to learn to understand your body, and I would say over the past 5 years of consistently squatting heavy, I can tell when I'm able to push and when I should pull back. And this comes down to learning how to read your body, push when needed and pull when you need. And it really is about maturity in the gym. Here is my second working set at 110, which is my top set. Again, as soon as you touch the bar, you are being intentional. From this moment, I am really priming myself and visualizing the squat, the mental visualization, which also known as the mental preparation. This is important prior to doing the actual squat itself. When you practice the mindset of visualizing the technique, you doing your squat, this does make a difference in how you are able to perform your working set. So here felt pretty good on my second set, taking that massive breath in, keeping that upright torso, tightness in the core, which is the most important thing. This is what the front view looks like. I believe that this is my second last set at my top working set. Again, as soon as I touch the bar, everything is consistent regardless of what the weight is on the barbell. That is being intentional, and the time that I put my hand on the barbell to when I'm actually doing my squat, you are taking your time and really focusing on the technique and the visualizing the squat technique that can help you when you do your actual working set. I don't think I'll be able to squat this heavy if it wasn't for the visualization prior to the actual squat itself. And again, really all the same principles apply. Keeping that upright torso, tightness in the upper back, and sinking down into that steep squat and pushing those knees out as I am coming up into that squat. And every single time you perform a rep at the top, take your time to reset, catch your breath, because the breathing and the bracing is an important factor to execute the squat as optimally and as safely as possible. This is the last working set over here. Again, the same consistency with that intention and visualizing the technique before I squat the heavy weight. I just have to say this again, that I have been training for more than 5 years, squatting heavy weights. So please do not compare your progress to mine. You will definitely get to a stage where you are confident enough to squat a heavy weight. It just takes time and practice. But everything that I've shared with you, the same principles apply, which is training with intention, mental visualization, taking your time and keeping that tightness throughout the entire rep, regardless of what the weight is on the barbell. If they are the things that I want you to take away, is all of that, you will definitely see some improvements when it comes to your squats. You have just watched the whole entire process of how I get started with my warm-up drills, to my warm-up sets, to the working sets for when I do my squat days. By me sharing this is to help give you some inspiration and tips to implement when you do your own training session for lower body or for your squats. And I just want to also let you know that I don't expect you or anyone to copy exactly what I do. I have been squatting for a very long time, for more than 5 years, and every single time I'm always refining, implementing, adding or adjusting, and it really is all about trial and error. Warm-ups can go a lot longer or can go not as long. It really is about finding what works for you. This is what works for me. I just wanted to put out there that anyone, literally anyone, and yourself included, can get to squatting heavy. It is just a matter of time and practicing good form and technique over and over and over again, because squatting is a skill. The more that you do it and find your sweet spot when it comes to warm-ups, it really is through trial and error. So find what works for you, implement some of the tips that I have shared in this video. And I just also wanted to let you know that squats is, as it's no secret, it is one of my favorite exercises, not only to build muscle and strength, but it is such an amazing exercise because you also work on your core strength and you are building a really strong spine to put a barbell on your back. I don't want anyone to compare and think that I'm this strong woman, because we all are. It has taken me such a long time over the years to keep refining it, and I would say I'm quite biased to barbell back squats because I genuinely love the strength aspect of it. It definitely makes me feel strong and empowered, and this is what I love for all women, to feel strong and to feel empowered other than the physical changes when it comes to weightlifting. If you have any questions around squatting, please let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, if you want to see my whole entire lower body day, then click the link here to see my session there. I also provide some cues and tips through voiceovers. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one.